Welcome to my how to change your dirt bike oil. So today the tools we're going to need is just one socket set. We are also going to need oil for your dirt bike. My dirt bike takes 10W40, but it does differ depending on your dirt bike. You also need one oil filter, and then you also need a measuring cup, funnel, and an oil drain pan. The most important thing about changing your dirt bike oil, before you do anything, you have to make sure the engine is cold. If the engine is not cold and you start changing your oil, you can burn yourself and it becomes a hazard. So step number one, we're gonna take our oil drain pan. We're gonna put it underneath the dirt bike, right about there. So my dirt bike has two drain plugs. The first one is the lower casing. We're gonna need our sockets. So I'm gonna take my 14 mil socket because that's how big my oil drain bolt is. Put it on. So we're gonna take our 14 mil socket. We're gonna start loosening the bolt off. Good thing to note here is that you are gonna get oil on your hands. You have to be fast at taking the bolt out or your hand is gonna get absolutely drenched in oil. Now we're gonna take our 8 mil socket and loosen the upper casing, which is over here, as you can see. Yet again, if you aren't fast enough, you are gonna get oil all over your hands. Just like that, got oil all over my hands. So as you can see, we are done draining the oil out of the lower casing plug and the upper casing plug. You will get the occasional drops, but don't worry about that too much because you will spend hours waiting for it to completely empty. So now we're gonna take our 14 mil socket, we're gonna put it on righty tighty, and we are gonna start tightening it. So you do not wanna pull super hard when you are tightening the bolt because you can seize the bolt into the engine and you won't be able to get it out. So all you're gonna do is you're gonna pull towards you just a little bit with 2 fingers. You're gonna pull as hard as you can, and if it doesn't move, it's good. Now we have completed tightening the lower drain bolt. So now we are going to do the upper drain bolt. Take our 8 mil socket, make sure it's on righty tighty. It's a 2-finger pull, just like that, no longer, good enough. So after we have tightened both the draining bolts, now we're gonna take off the oil filter. And this is the filter right here. We gotta take off this casing that holds it in. 2 bolts are 8 mils, these 2, and this one is a 10 mil bolt. So we're gonna start off by taking off the 8 mils. So our next socket is gonna be our 10 mil to get this bolt off right here. You do have to remember you are gonna have oil in your oil filter, so you just gotta let that drain as well. So here, you're gonna pull on your oil filter and out it comes. There's the oil filter right there. Now that we have taken out the old oil filter, we are gonna replace it with a new one. Here it is. Click, there, it's good. You're gonna take our oil filter casing, push it back on. Make sure the spring aligns in that hole. Your 10 mil bolt, put it in the bottom here. Hand tighten always. First long 8 mil bolt, put it on our right side. Give it a little hand tighten. Second small 8 mil bolt, put it in the left side, give it a little hand tighten. Then we're gonna take our 10 mil socket. You're gonna start tightening it. Remember, 2-finger method. Can no longer pull no more. Now we're gonna take our 8 mil. We're gonna tighten it. 2-finger method. 2-finger method. No longer pull no more. And that is how you replace the oil filter. So just a quick recap. We did end up draining the lower engine casing and the upper engine casing oil. We tightened the bolts back in. We also changed the oil filter. We tightened these bolts. Now we're gonna start adding oil, but before we do that, we have to take off this bolt right here. we are gonna take our oil funnel now. Make sure it is nice and clean. You don't want any dirt going into the motor. Nice and clean. Place it right here. Then we are gonna take our oil, 10W40 oil that we had at the beginning, right here. We also are gonna need our oil measuring cup, right here. So for my dirt bike, and each dirt bike is different, your oil capacity level is 1 liter for this dirt bike. So that means that we are going to fill our oil measuring cup up to 1 liter. So we are gonna take our 10W40 oil right here. We are gonna pour it in to the measuring cup up to 1 liter. So as you can see right here, we do have 1 liter of oil. You do not want to put any extra or any less. Start pouring it in. Nice and gently, because if you rush it too much, you will overflow the funnel and you will get oil all over the place. So you're gonna let the oil measuring cup drain the oil, because there is always excess oil in the oil measuring cup. And that should be good right there. We're gonna take our 14 mil bolt that we took off the top. Make sure our oil funnel is done draining. Pop it out, just like that. Take our bolt, hand tighten it in again. 2-finger method always. Pull, can't pull no more, that's good. So now we have oil in the engine that we just poured in, new oil filter, and all the plugs are put back in place. After you have made sure that everything is tightened, all your oil drain plugs are put back in place, your oil filter is put back, you are gonna take your kick starter that is on your dirt bike, you're gonna give it a few pumps, slow pumps, to get the oil circulating throughout the engine. You don't wanna ever just kick over your dirt bike right away, because that can harm the engine, as oil isn't circulating fully through the engine yet. That should be good. Now we're gonna give it a few kicks. You have let your dirt bike run for a little bit longer, you always want to check your oil overflow, just to make sure that you aren't leaking any excess oil, because if you are, that means you put too much oil in your engine and it is going to ruin the seals. So that is basically how you change your oil on your dirt bike. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach me at my email, ctmyshock@lakeheadu.ca.